Welcome back to another video. In this one, we're going to go over the NFL for Christmas Day. And happy holidays to everyone out there. Hope you and your families are well and enjoying the holidays. And yeah, let's get started with the first game in the NFL today between the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Commanders. And as you can see, the opening odds are on the screen. These on your left that are faded out. And we use those, we separate the integers, add them together. It's called reduction. And we just apply that to any numerological parallels. And we see what we could find, see what we could decode in the odds to get winning picks. And that's why we refer to the opening odds. We also have the spreads here and the totals as well. We go off those as well, but mainly we focus on the ML, the money line with those. But yeah, let's get started with the Dallas versus Washington. All right, opening money line, plus 166 for Dallas, minus 198 for Washington. 166 reduces to 67, 22, and 13. 1 plus 67 equals 1 plus 66 equals 67, and so on and so forth. And that's how we get these values here. Minus 480 for Dallas, plus 370 for Washington are the current odds. Current odds, minus 480 for Dallas. So that's increasing as a favorite. They were 460. This is early Thursday morning, early Christmas morning. And the minus 480 turned out to be, well, from minus 460 a few hours ago. So just keep that in mind. All right, opening for Dallas on the spread, 3.5 point underdogs at minus 103 cost. 3.5 point favorites were the Commanders at minus 118 cost. Now, obviously, Dallas is a favorite. Now they're 8.5 point favorites now at minus 114 cost. 8.5 point underdogs were Washington at minus 106 cost. Total opened at 51.5. Minus 103 cost going over. Under getting the minus 119 cost. Currently, 50.5 points, minus 105 cost going over, minus 115 going under. Those are the current odds. And since we just went over this, let's go over the expected value before we get into anything else. Opening expected value based off the money line. Minus 166 for Dallas, plus 166 for Dallas, minus 198 for Washington. Turned out at 36% win percentage for Dallas, 64% win percentage for Washington. That gives Dallas a negative $4.24 expected value, and that gives Washington a negative $3.68 expected value. Now, what is expected value? Definition is right here. It will also be in the description. The measure what a bettor can expect to win or lose on each bet placed on the same odds time and time again. EV formula is below that, and it is based off $100 wagers. Now, current odds based off the minus 480 plus 370 for Washington, minus 480 for Dallas, gives Dallas an 80% win percentage, and that gives Washington a 20% win percentage. That gives Dallas a negative $3.33 expected value, and that gives Washington a negative $6 expected value even. All right, let's go over where the odds were from Tuesday. Negative 320, minus 320 for Dallas, plus 260 for Washington. Obviously, those have increased significantly from Tuesday into Thursday morning, where we are currently. 67% going with Dallas. Correction. My bad. I moved that down. All right, 67% for Dallas, 33% going with Washington on the betting. On the ML, 62% going with Dallas on the money line on Tuesday, 12.23, and 38% of the money going Washington's way. On the spread, Dallas was a 6.5 point favorite. Now they're an 8.5 point favorite at minus 118 cost, and 59 Washington 6.5 point underdog at minus 104 cost. 59% betting percentage going with Dallas, 41% betting percentage going with Washington, 70-30 on the money in favor of Dallas on the spread from Tuesday. All right, total from Tuesday, 12.23. Over under 50.5 points, minus 106 cost going over. Under getting minus 114 cost. 49% betting going over, 51% betting going under, 45% money going over, 55% money going under. And that is where we stand on the splits from Tuesday. Now this game is pretty straightforward. Pretty straightforward with how the odds have increased from minus 320 on Tuesday, plus 260 on Tuesday for Washington, to now minus 480 for Dallas, to plus 370 for Washington. And that is where we are now. Let's go over the splits currently. The current splits. 69% going with Dallas. Well, let's start with the money line. 86% going with Dallas on the betting. 14% going with Washington on the money line. 77% money going with Dallas. 23% money going with Washington. Spread percentage of bets. 69% going with Dallas. 31% going with Washington. Percentage of money. 78% going with Dallas. And 22% going with Washington. Total percentage of bets. Over 61%, under 39%. Percentage of money on the total currently. 73% going over 50.5. Under is getting 27%. So people expecting this to be a relatively high scoring game based off of how the odds have moved. Now we're going to start with the ML. Pretty straightforward. Dallas went up significantly at the same time as their betting and money went up. So if you were a bookie, think about that. Pretty simple. Who's going to win this game? The odds went up while the money went up and the betting went up on the Cowboys. 69% here on the spread going with Dallas. 78% going with Dallas on the money on the spread. Both of those are up from Tuesday. 59% here, 70% here. Both of those are up from Tuesday, from 59 and 70. And so are the spread there. Now it is Dallas is at 8.5 point favorite instead of a 6.5 point favorite. Now what happened with the cost? Minus 118 cost on Tuesday dropped to minus 114 cost now. Now the minus 106 is hit more than the minus 114s, but it is about 52.48. So that's not significant there. But the way they went up on that cost by 2 points from Tuesday to Thursday morning now, it is now 8.5 point favorites for the Cowboys. The way they went up on that, they're really trying to, in an attempt basically, to discourage you from Dallas to go with Washington. So they're trying to get you to go with Washington, and the cost is still lower for Washington. Now, Cowboys could win this by a touchdown. More than likely not. They could definitely cover that spread for sure, the way they went up on the odds. But watch how the odds, I say, if Dallas were to win this, watch how the odds go for Dallas on the cost. I think the 8.5 is a lock. I don't think that's moving until game time. Game time is literally in a few hours. That more than likely will not move. Now, the total over under 50.5. Over is getting that minus 105 cost, which hits significantly more than the minus 115s across all sports. And the odds have increased significantly for that over, from 49% of the betting and 45% money to now 61% betting going over and 73% going over now. And it is getting that minus 105 sweet spot. So keep that in mind, how they adjust those odds. But I'll lean toward I would join the public in that instance. But let's go with the next game. Detroit versus Minnesota. All right. Opening, minus 146 for Detroit, plus 124 for Minnesota. And of course, these numbers have just been reduced here on the right. 1 plus 46 is 47. 14 plus 6 is 20. 1 plus 4 plus 6 is 11. And that's how we get those values. Minus 370 for Detroit. Plus 295 for Minnesota current odds. Opening on the spread. Detroit opened at 3 point favorites at minus 102 cost. 3 point underdogs were the Vikings at minus 120 cost. Currently 7.5 point favorite. So a touchdown and a half point for touchdown and extra point plus a half point for Detroit, minus 102 cost. 7.5 point underdogs were the Vikings at minus 120 cost. Opened at, on the total, opened at 49.5, minus 105 cost. Under getting 49.5 and minus 115 cost. Over under 43.5 currently. Minus 105 cost going over, minus 115 going under. And that is how we get these values here. Just basically just making sure that we apply parallels. As you can see, that minus 105 stayed consistent from the opening to now, hasn't really changed at all. Gives you some idea on what's going to happen. Now let's go over the expected value for this one based off the opening odds. 57% win percentage for Detroit, 43% win percentage for Minnesota. That gives Detroit a negative $3.96 expected value, and Minnesota a negative $3.68 expected value. Detroit, currently, based off the current odds, 76% win percentage and 24% win percentage for the Vikings. That gives Detroit a negative $3.46 expected value, and that gives Minnesota a negative $5.20 expected value. Now, let's go over where the splits were from Tuesday, then we'll go over the current splits, but they're on the bottom of your screen, as you can see. Picks and props will be on the Patreon as well. Just link is in the description and in the video. Now, Detroit, minus 275 on Tuesday, 12.23, plus 225 for Minnesota. 88% betting for Detroit, 12% betting going with the Vikings, 76% money going with Detroit on the money line, 24% going with the Vikings on the money line. Spread, Tuesday, odds movements, 12.23, negative 5.5 points, minus 118 cost going with Detroit. 5.5 point underdogs were the Vikings at minus 104 cost. 71% betting going with Detroit, 29% betting going with the Vikings. 76% money going with Detroit, 24% money going with the Vikings. Total, 12.23. Over under, 44.5. Minus 110 cost going over, minus 110 cost going under. 61% betting going with the over, 39% betting going with the under. 61% money going with the over, 39% money going with the under. And yeah, let's go over let's go over what it means. Minus 275 currently. Well, on Tuesday, minus 370 currently, excuse me. So Detroit went up a lot like the last. This is literally like a mirror of the last game. The Cowboys and the Washington went up. Both went up in value, with the exception of the odds. They went up as well. 84% money for the Lions, up from 76% on Tuesday. 88% betting with the Lions stayed the same from Tuesday on the money line, that is. Now, pretty simple. They went up on the odds. Normally, underdogs don't take that normally. They normally don't take those victories when they go up on the odds that significantly in really such a short amount of time. They went up 8% on the money. Stayed the same on the betting though, but it's still 88% on the betting. But the spread is where you want to look in these kinds of games. Minus 118 cost from Tuesday. Currently, they are minus 102. The Lions are as a 7.5 point favorite now. Currently, as you can see, they are a 7.5 point favorite at minus 102 cost. 7.5 point underdog are the Vikings at minus 120 cost. Now, both of those are up as well. 71% betting is now 75% betting on the spread. 76% money is now 79% money going with on Detroit. Now, with this being said, the underdog could take this spread just based off of how they move those odds. The minus 120s hit significantly more than the minus 102s. If this can hold up, and they increased significantly, they went up to 7.5 points. With that being said, now sometimes they try to draw you in. They try to get you to bet the underdog, and then the favorite covers the spread. And in both instances, the favorites are on the road. Significant favorites are on the road. So, with that being said, with them being increasing on the money as well, Minnesota could take that spread just based off how the odds are moving. If that minus 120 holds, Vikings look decent on the spread. If not, go with Detroit. Over under was getting 61% on Tuesday. Now it's 69-76. Just like the last game, everything up for the significant favorite. And in this instance, what you want to see, okay, minus 110 even cost on Tuesday, and minus 105 is getting that over. I would join the public and go with that over in that instance. In this instance, excuse me, minus 105 going over. Went down a little bit to do that. So I would go with that over in this instance. Let's go to the next one. All right, Denver versus Kansas City. Plus 165 opening for Denver. Minus 227 for Kansas City. Those have been reduced on your right. Minus 1200 for Denver currently. Significantly a favorite in this one. 89% win percentage for them, by the way. 750 plus 750 for the underdog Chiefs. Now, opening on the spread, 4.5 point favorites for the Kansas City, 4.5 point underdogs were the Broncos. Minus 118 cost going with the Broncos on the opening. Minus 104 cost going with the Chiefs. Currently, it is 13 point favorites are the Broncos. Minus 110 cost going with Denver. Minus 110 cost going with the underdog, 13.5 point underdog Chiefs. Over under opened at 44.5. Minus 105 cost going over. 44.5 under. Minus 115 cost. Currently, significantly less, 36.5 points over under. Minus 108 cost going over. Minus 112 cost going under. Now, the minus 112s hit more so than the minus 108s. It's about 45. Not significant, but it is a 5% difference, which is significant if you are a consistent bettor. Now, expected value for both teams based off the opening. 35% win percentage for the Broncos, 65% win percentage for the Chiefs. Very, very high expected value, negative expected values for the openings. Negative $7.25 expected value for the Broncos, negative $6.37 expected value for the Chiefs. Denver win percentage, 89% going with Denver, 11% going with the Chiefs. On the based off the minus 1200 plus 750, as you can see here and here. Minus 1200 Broncos plus 750 for the Chiefs. 89% win percentage for the Broncos, 11% win percentage for the Chiefs. Negative $3.58 expected value for the Broncos, and negative $6.50 expected value for the Chiefs. Now, normally you should be aware of home favorites, but all of the favorites today are on the road, which makes it a little more difficult to pick these games. Because if it was a home favorite, you always have to be aware of picking a significant home favorite, especially when the odds increase this much. But they're on the road. And let's go over where these odds were on Tuesday. Now, Tuesday money line, 1223, minus 820 plus 570, minus 820 for Denver, plus 570 for Kansas City, 63% betting for Denver, and 37% betting for Kansas City. 55% money going with Denver, and 45% money going with Kansas City. Spread Tuesday, 1223, minus 12.5 points, minus 115 cost going with Denver, plus 12.5 cost at minus 105 cost going with Kansas City. 72% betting going with Denver on the betting, 28% going with Kansas City on the betting, 80-20 on the money. 80-20, 80 going with Denver, 20 going with Kansas City. Over under 36.5. 36.5 held its position since Tuesday. 32% on the betting, 68% betting on the under. 34% money going over, 66% money going under. Now, the under is still dominating, but it has decreased quite decently, especially with such a low total. All right, 78% currently going. Well, let's go with these mean before we get into where it is currently. All right, minus 820 for Denver has turned into minus 1200. Plus 570 has turned into plus 750. And they are now hitting on the money line 78% and 57%. 57% on the money, that is. Once again, both are up. So all of the games, all the money line percentages are up from Tuesday. And all of the odds for the favorites are up on Tuesdays. So this is the kind of week that you would normally make your money on the spread. So we're going to go to the spreads. 76% going with Denver on the money. 73% currently going with Denver on the spread, on the betting, on the betting, that is. On Tuesday, it was 72-80. Those percentages are down. The betting is up 1, but the money is down by 4. But the actual amount is up by 1, 12.5 up to 13.5 currently. And normally when they do that, they're teetering around that 2 touchdown mark. Denver to win by 2 touchdowns. They're teetering around that 2 touchdown mark. This could be a game where they win by 14 or lose, or Kansas City loses with by 13, if that 13.5 holds. But if that adjustment happens, let's say, where are we at now? Minus 110 even. Okay, the costs have evened out. Minus 105 was here. I'm going with Kansas City on Tuesday. Minus 105 there with Kansas City on Tuesday. I would lean toward, especially with the amount of value Kansas City has to the bookies, especially its expected value, I would lean toward the Chiefs on the spread in this one. Just based off where the expected value is going and where the percentages are. And also where they were on Tuesday at minus 105. Now they've evened out at minus 110, increased the cost and increased the amount. Normally when they increase the amount from 12.5 to 13.5, and that amount increases for either one, the one that increased is going to win. So I would go with the Chiefs if that minus 110 cost, the over minus 105 cost holds up. Over under 36.5 still, 57% going under, 52% money going under, 57% betting going under. That is down from 68% betting and 66% money. Now, where's the cost? Hold on. The cost is at minus 110, and currently it is at minus 112 going under. So I would actually join the public and go with that under. No, fade the public and go with that over. Only because this is more than likely going to change. These odds are going to change. Nothing fluctuates close to game time like a total, especially right up on game time. If you see the over go below, let's say, well, let's put it this way. If you see the under go above this minus 112 at all, then go with that over. Go with the over. Go with the over. They're trying to entice you to go. Well, let me rephrase that. If you see the under go above minus 115 or above, go with the over. Join the public. Any other way, go with the over. That's how I should put it. Any other way, go with the over in this instance. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Props and picks will be on the Patreon. Link is in the description and in the video. Pray every day. I've been Scott. You guys take care. And happy holidays to you. And I pray for you and your families to have a great, 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 great day.